Welcome, everybody. We're here to let other people know about the Cyber Junior High School. We thought it'd be great if we just start with introducing ourselves. I'm Beth Sutton. I'm the developer and director of Enki, and last year I taught the cyber courses, so I have firsthand knowledge. Perky?
I'm Perky Hubner. My daughter Talis is 12 and attends the cyber program this year. And I also teach with Enki Education in a homeschool cooperative in Colorado with my 6th year, I believe, in working with Enki and these families.
Marguerite?
Marguerite Sands. I'm one of the teachers as of this fall, so this is my 3rd term, and Perky's daughter is among my students, and I teach the grade 6 and 7 group. So we've had humanities classes and grammar and science and math. And what else? Do you want me to talk about my background?
No, just who we are. We'll come back around.
Alrighty. I've studied with Beth. I've known Beth for
30 years.
Perhaps 30 years. She's sort of been in a mentor position to me much of that time.
Tony?
I'm Tony, and I live in Ohio, usually. My daughter, Abigail, has been part of Enki Cyber School since it began. She's 15, so she's one of the older ones, but the 8th grade material is still very relevant to her life stage.
And she's been with us for 2 years now.
Yes, this is her 2nd year.
Brooke?
I'm Brooke, and my son Tabor is 12, and we used Enki homeschool material before starting the online program, and it just seemed like a natural progression for Tabor.
Great.
And we're in Colorado.
This is also Tabor's 2nd year.
And it is, yeah.
Jackie.
I'm Jackie Mitchell, and I'm one of the teachers. I'm teaching the grade 8 class, and this is my 2nd term of teaching. I've been teaching the humanities and doing the art that's associated with that. I've also known Beth for many years, was one of the original Enki teachers, and she has also been has been my mentor as a teacher, so yeah.
So we can all tell that I'm old as the hills now.
And the age doesn't necessarily.
I thought what might be helpful to parents who are thinking about this is, first of all, hearing from you parents, what were the things that you were looking for in searching out a program for your junior high that wasn't still homeschooling? Anybody go ahead and start.
Well, I'll start. I was looking for something where there would be some amount of collaboration and also instruction that wouldn't come directly from me, because I think my daughter definitely enjoys learning and hearing material from someone else. Honestly, that she kind of questions me, but when there's another adult there who seems to know what they're doing, then she's willing to trust them. And I guess I should mention that we did do Enki kindergarten. So I was somewhat familiar with Enki, and that's how I was on the mailing list to learn about cyber school. But there were also things that I found I just wasn't good at, such as bringing art. And my child was really, really good at art. So having someone else to bring that and to really put it together with the curriculum and just show how things were intertwined, that just made a huge difference. Something that I didn't really have a knack for. So I was really grateful to find Beth and Enki.
We became interested in the cyber school because my daughter's situation was a little bit different in that she has been working with a group of kids in what we term a homeschool cooperative with the Enki philosophy and curriculum materials. since kindergarten. So she has been with a small group of children. And then considering her options, we were interested in the cyber program because it would allow her to continue to develop through the Enki philosophy with a group of children still, because we didn't have that opportunity here. All of her homeschool cooperative classmates were going off to different middle schools. And it allowed Talus to continue to work on the farm that she's in love with here. Excuse me. Versus going to a brick and mortar school and being there all day. So I think that's what drew us to that final choice of continuing on with Enki in the cyber program.
We decided to do the cyber program because we love Enki. We love the Enki materials. We've always used them. And like I said, it was just a natural progression for us to continue on into the cyber program. Tabor learns really well with this curriculum, and like Jackie said, not so well from me anymore. And so it was actually really a gift that this program happened to fall into our laps when it did, because Marguerite is wonderful, and he needed that, a teacher that wasn't me anymore.
So that's great, because it kind of brings up, I guess I'll start here with why we started it and what the concerns were, and then maybe you guys can add if you had other ones and how it worked out. Most kids have trouble learning from their parents by the time they hit 11, 12, 13. It's a natural moment to push out. And we were actually at the point where my oldest grandchild was that age. So that was part of my willingness to jump in with both feet. There was no more homeschooling him. I knew that he needed the peers and the peer time, and that's Enki is set up for that. And also that just going to a brick and mortar school was not the right choice for our family and for many families. But I was really worried about, can you actually have meaningful relationships and meaningful peer work online? And that was the big question we had last year going in. And instead of giving you my opinion, I'm going to open that to you guys, teachers and parents, for if there were other questions you had coming in or how it's worked for you in relation to the peer and the integrating it with your lives.
I'd like to jump in on that because I was suspicious of that going into it in this fall. I thought, can I really have a relationship with these students when we're seeing each other online? And I have to say, the analogy I've come up with is like when you see a movie on a small screen or on a really large screen, you don't remember the screen, you remember the story. And similarly, I feel like we make a heart connection with the students. I've been actually quite pleased about that, because that was my biggest concern as teacher, because in my view, the relationship is the main part of the whole thing. And I feel like the children are friends with each other. They say on a regular basis, oh, I wish we could be in a class together. Just today, someone was saying that. And they've talked about making a camping trip together at some point. And so I feel that it is, in fact, possible. And it's a relief to me.
And one of the things you didn't mention there in your list is that we're finding the kids talk to each other on Zoom or on the phone outside of class time. They come early to talk to each other. Some in your group have been playing instruments together.
Some, yeah. Yeah, and other activities as well.
I was.
Pardon me, I have to jump.
I was worried that, I was definitely worried about not making that connection with the students, but I found that, I worried about them, and I was as concerned about them as I would have been, when I felt like some things were happening for them. It was exactly the same as if they'd been in my class. What I don't get is the subtlety of, like being able to say, oh, I like your new shoes or something, because you never see their shoes. Or, we get a very sort of two-dimensional view of each other. And that for teenagers and things, I think, you know, how to kind of bridge that gap is definitely a question for me. But I think that we do create a group, that's for sure, within this context.
I had those similar concerns. I was also wondering if it would just feel kind of flat, is my term, especially for Talus, because she hasn't been in a typical homeschool with just me and family and working one-on-one or in a small group. She has been with a group of children most days and had that dynamic and interaction. So I was wondering if even the learning and the discussions and the activities would feel kind of flat, is just the term I can come up with. But I had the opportunity to be part of a class of Marguerite's more through watching the recording afterwards, but I felt like I was part of the class even in watching the recording, and felt as I was there and engaging in the activities, I just got to experience firsthand that it didn't feel flat, like I was wondering. And I also have to remind myself that Talus and her peers are digital natives, so they know this format. It's not foreign to them. It's more, those questions come up for us because we're not natives to it. So it can feel very foreign, and we just assume it's not as dynamic a process as being in the same room with someone. But for our kids, this is part of their repertoire. And so I don't think that it probably even comes up for them.
Mm-hmm.
I hear what Perky's saying, and I agree. For me, it was a fear of being online and just engaging on a computer instead of in person. For Tabor, it's worked really well. The one story I have is, like, yesterday I came home and he had been home by himself, and I said, well, what have you been doing today? Have you been on the computer? And he said, well, I'm just hanging out with my friends. And so on a Sunday, here he is hanging out with his friends, which feels really good to him and to me. And so it has been incredibly engaging in that way. He's made some good friends, and he's worked well with Marguerite, and the material doesn't have any issue translating even in, on the screen. It's been good.
Plus, we aren't, there for 8 hours at a stretch or anything like that. They're brief classes. We take a break and stretch in between, and we have movement as part of it and art as part of it, which is all meant to be, a little bit more integrative. And
that's actually an important point, I think, for people who don't know, that the class is not a lecture from the teacher. The class is discussion and art and children working on projects together.
Learning to juggle. Learning to juggle. They're psyched about that in the math.
So, Tony, did you want to put in something on that?
Yeah, I was actually really pleasantly surprised at how much connection the kids had. When Abigail first started the class, there was one Friday after class, and she was still in front of the screen, and I was wondering what was going on, and she said, my friends and I are all watching the Three Stooges together. And that was everyone from Inky. I don't even know how you do that as a group online. So
you can screen share.
I don't even know how to screen share. So I was really impressed that was something that they were doing and that they wanted to do. We actually had the experience of her going to public school for 6th grade, and I'd say she came away with it from school with one good friend, and she really found the rest of the social experience pretty stressful. So actually, Inky was far more positive in that regard, that I think she really connected with the kids a lot better. And also we tried some other online classes, and with those classes, she just wasn't quite as engaged. I think it was in large part because it was simply the teacher lecturing, and all of the student interaction was done with typing. So it makes a huge difference to be able to see each other and actually talk to each other, hear voices.
Yeah, I think one of the important things about this, the social piece is that our program is focused around peer work, helping the kids learn how to work together, how to support each other in writer's workshop, how to help each other with artwork, how to do a project together. So since the point of doing it in a group is the group, our focus is there. And I think there's a way that in the normal school program, your focus becomes on the material rather than on the interaction. So I think that's part of why we're seeing so many of the kids, even the ones who are more quiet and don't do those after school things, are still talking about their friends and making things for their friends and want to show their video to their friends. So even those ones who are a little more held back will be doing that. The other thing that I've noticed, and you know, this is a place where where Tony was saying about her daughter's participation, you know, they got to be the star. The quality of work the children do ongoing, but especially their peer projects and their ability to support each other in those. And I mention Abigail because it was her idea. She led the charge to do this song. I'm still stunned. I would have told them it's not possible. Of course, they argued and done it anyway, but I still would have said it's not possible. But they they wrote a song together online, and then they did perform their separate parts, recording them at home, and then Abigail put them all together, and then Hannah added video, and you can see that online. Those people wanting to know more, you can see it on our website. But it's a freedom song that they wrote using the Xhosa language in and out on freedom from apartheid. And I'm still stunned. I'd love to say it's just that I'm happy. I'm still, when I tell people, I think, did that really happen? And I keep going back to watch it, and it's right there. It really happened. So we see this kind of, I expected to have to do a lot of helping them learn to support one another, and it has not been the case. They're just naturally really positive in their feedback to one another.
Yeah, and even though they were kind of, to begin with, their whole idea of projects was very overwhelming, to begin with, or at least in their minds it was. It wasn't even really, when it came down to it, they were completely ready to work together, and they were very creative and had lots of ideas. So, I think that it's really, from the first year to the second year, that's what my experience was, that they really got so much confidence and in their ability to work together and to create things together. So it's very exciting.
Parents, anybody want to add something more about the work that they do or the relationships or whatever you like? And then we'll bring it to a close.
I just want to share that the teachers are very accessible. Well, we work with Marguerite, and I've had some needs with Talas's schedule that has asked more of Marguerite in the communication back and forth. And it feels as though she is the classroom teacher for Talis, and we have that. She's very accessible and supportive of the things that have come up for us.
That's great.
I'd like to echo that sentiment. We have had just the same experience of both Beth and Jackie being very accessible and really willing to step in and help develop a relationship with Abigail when that was what she needed. And she's just had some challenges this year, so there's been a lot of flexibility in helping her through that and finding ways to support her through unique situations. So I can't really imagine that being the case for any other program. And in that case, it's been a support for me too, knowing that that she has something that's kind of a constant during difficult times, something that she wants to work on. It keeps her anchored.
That's great. Any closing words for you, Brooke?
We're just really grateful to be a part of this program, and the same. Tabor feels very confident in Marguerite, and feels very close to to her and to the kids in the class, and it's just a good experience.
That's great. Well, that sounds like a really good note. Thank you guys for coming and letting other parents know what's happening, because it is unusual. I don't think there's anything else like it. So people wondering what to do with their children, it's hard for them to wrap their minds around it. And I think hearing from you all really helps. So thank you, and say goodbye to the group.